Hey there, welcome to the Reinsurance Podcast, the place where we dive into all things reinsurance, the coolest part of insurance. We're your hosts, Jared and Ben, a couple of ex-practitioners who loved the industry so much we founded Supercede to tackle some of its biggest headaches. And we're here to share our insights and stories with expert guests as we uncover what's really going on in the industry.
Well, welcome back to the Reinsurance Podcast here in Monte Carlo. Delighted, Martin Burke, you could join us from MS Amlin to talk about the market and what's been going on since you arrived. How's your Monte Carlo so far?
It's been going really well so far, yeah. It's been a busy couple of days with some more time to go, quite a lot of meetings, but in terms of the themes of the conference, I feel like it's starting to sort of coalesce around a bit of a central message.
Oh, interesting. So I'd love to hear more. So you've been bouncing, I guess, from 30-minute meeting to 30-minute meeting. What is coming out as the main theme?
Yeah, I'd say the main theme is that the sort of market is in good health. We've had particularly the reinsurance market's had a couple of very good years.
Yeah.
When you look at that industry level, what that means is that that's really sort of creating some more retained earnings. It means that there has been some inflow of capital into the market, and from that perspective, that does. You know, I'm not an economist, but I suppose maybe we're all a little bit economist inside.
Yeah.
And really the sort of natural flow of that is that does mean that there will be some pressure on the market just because of that sort of availability of capital there to meet the needs of the business. In particular places, maybe that's not quite so prevalent. So it's not like all business everywhere gets an equal share of that capital demand. But I do feel like there's enough across the market, across most reinsurance lines, that is just going to put a bit of pressure on primarily the pricing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think echoing what you've said, really, we can get quite fixated with the very high level picture of rates, but as you said, it's not the same in every class, it's not the same for every client. I suppose that's probably why they have all these meetings to work out who's getting what.
Yes, yeah.
And coming here as MS Amlin and I presume you probably hear very regularly, what do you tend to talk about? What's your main message to the market?
Yeah, so the message varies every year. You have to try to sort of tune in to what's going on. We've not quite presented it this way, but in preparation for this conversation, I've been sort of trying to think how to sort of summarise our message. I suppose mostly, and this maybe suits the market, but we've been mainly talking about P's and C's.
Okay.
If I explain what that is. So primarily, we are really trying to emphasise our partnership approach. So with both clients into us and both with our outwards reinsurers, it really works both ways. At this point in the market cycle, you do want to make sure that your partnerships are running well, because there's a dependency that the whole ecosystem has, you know, from front end to back end.
Yeah.
So partnerships has been important for us to emphasise. I'd say next after partnerships, then we've also been talking about sort of claims payment ability. So we're very proud of our claims payment record. We have a fantastic claims team, and we sort of really sort of promote that, because that is a lot of the service that we're selling in the end.
Absolutely.
So as much as we're underwriting the business, it is when it comes to paying the claim that the client hopefully sort of realises the real value in that relationship. So it's that promise to pay. So claims payment is really important to us. So that's a C I'm counting. Claims payment, two words. Next, I would say there's a priority in terms of coverage. So we've been having sort of conversations with both our inwards and outwards markets again, really on how to look at coverage in the business. And you know, that sort of makes sense when you have got perhaps some limitations on your outwards reinsurance that you're buying. Given where the market is, it might be time to sort of look to broaden that out to give us more support. Because we, as a business, we've done a lot of work on our portfolio, as I think everyone does, but we've gone through a lot of cycle management, a lot of real portfolio changes. And so part of what we feel like we've done is we've really created some good value in that book. And going into 2026, our plans are really to evolve the business just that bit further, but we see it as adding value to a winning formula, because the business is already working very well. So that's where that sort of coverage element really helps us, but also we're looking to evolve our portfolio, which should stand in good stead for our reinsurers. So it's all nicely connected in my head anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
I suppose the the last thing, and this is a slight stretch, but it is really about participation. So it's where, particularly when we're looking at our outwards reinsurance markets, for us, and it maybe differs between different people, but for us, actually having a good participation across different parts of our portfolio really makes a big difference to us.
Yeah.
So that's somewhere where we feel like that helps cement in place some of the other things we've talked about in terms of that partnership ability.
Yeah.
So those are the main messages we've been sort of disseminating in different places. Overall, we've had a team of sort of inwards and outwards focused people. So it has been sort of projecting both ways. But as long as you make sure you know what meeting you're in at the time,
Yes.
you're meeting the right client,
Yeah.
and you're talking about the right things, then it can all work well in terms of a set of messages.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I guess that's why we're all here is to figure out how to share risk amongst us, and in particular risk that's going to be beneficial for all parties.
Yeah, it really makes sense that the industry is in good health,
Yeah.
first and foremost, because we have to make sure that we're actually there, ultimately the industry has a requirement to pay. We have a role to play, but we are part of an overall picture. So yeah, that's where conferences like this are so good, because we can sort of tune in to where everyone else is at and what that mood is like at the moment.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I guess turning maybe to some more of the challenges the industry is having to overcome and the way the industry is having to evolve. What's keeping industry people up at night at the moment, would you say? What's on the horizon to be conquered?
Well, I'd say a perennial challenge, but one that, well, it's perennial, so it's always there, is just making sure that you really understand your aggregation of risk.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's one of those topics that you think, okay, that's just to do with natural catastrophes, but it isn't. It really is something that applies across quite a lot of portfolios. And I suppose, again, recent events in the world that have happened in the last sort of 5-10 years, when you think of large significant events that have happened, there's a fair share of things that aren't just in that natural catastrophe space. And the key about all of that, to me, is, like I said, really understanding your aggregation of risk, understanding what risk you're putting out, whether it's exposure to inflation on your casualty book, or whether it's exposure so we write a range of lines of business. So we write some political violence business, which is obviously exposed to a certain type of risk, but we also have natural resources business, which is exposed differently, maybe more to sort of large individual risk.
Yep.
But nonetheless, the common theme across all of that is really understanding that aggregation of exposures, because when the unknown happens, the first thing you need to know is really what's the scale of what's exposed to that type of event. And that's the first question that I just get asked every single time something happens. So it does make sense. It is inbuilt, but it is always something that we're looking to improve upon, because there's timeliness of information or completeness of that information, and also making sure that you have maybe strategize the ways that the wordings of your policies, how they react in certain circumstances as well. Because we do like a complicated wording in insurance, and it doesn't always react the way you expect. So trying to work that through in advance helps you understand these are the places I'm really sort of putting out my exposures, and this is the return I'm expecting on it.
Yeah, I guess that must make you a better partner as well when it comes to sharing exposures as well and taking them on.
Yeah,
You understand them better.
Absolutely right. We do hope that is the case. I suppose that's for our reinsurers to judge. But in terms of our abilities on, particularly in the last few years, I would say a lot more focus on the non-natural catastrophe space. And it's been really pleasing to see how that's sort of helped us to articulate the story of the business better. And how that hopefully leads to those better partnerships and relationships with our reinsurers.
Really, really, really exciting. And I guess turning to the future, obviously we've understood the exposures of the past and where the book is now. What are you excited about looking over the next sort of 12 months in terms of the MS Amlin journey in particular?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few exciting things happening in the business, some of which I guess I can't particularly talk about today. So we've got a couple of projects in the pipeline, but in a general sense, I suppose what's really kept me excited about the last couple of years, and it will carry through into 2026, is just this ability to work on opportunities. So the pipeline of opportunities we have as a business is something that we need to keep paying attention to. And that's because there's so many things going on in the world. You've got movements in technology. You've got things like facilities being put in place in the market by all the major brokers, right? That's just something that we have to react to. We have to be sort of ready for. So what we're continuing to do in 2026 is we're continuing to work on our strategies and approaches to actually make sure that we deliver our business plan, and that's the age-old point of, you really can't stand still, because otherwise, before you know it, you're sort of falling behind. So even just to sort of maintain a fairly consistent plan year on year, it's going to take more work. But that's the thing that excites me about the new year. I suppose just in terms of the business as a whole, then we're really well set. We've got a really good team of people across the underwriting teams and in the management team of the business. We have got a new CEO who starts with us soon, and our previous CEO, Andrew Carrier, is retiring towards the end of the year. So it's actually a fantastic moment for Andrew, who's achieved so much in the last 5 years with the business, and he's then passing that role on to Christian Dart, who joins again, as I said, later in the year, early into next year. So that's also an exciting point for the business. But actually, in terms of the sort of makeup of that executive management team, it's actually going to be sort of pretty consistent between the old and the new. We obviously have to absorb views of new people into the mix, but actually there's a real momentum in the business going into 2026.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting, and I guess amongst a broadly still positive outlook for the industry at large as well, and I presume Monte Carlo is probably irreplaceable in terms of tacking your strategy and understanding that you're in tune with what's going on, as you say, make the best decisions about what the business needs to do to respond and stay relevant.
Yes, exactly. It's that word of relevance, right? And I suppose when I was at Monte Carlo last year, which was actually my first year here, so I hadn't been before, just given other roles I've done. But at that time, I sort of felt like the theme that last year was about sort of resilience. But I suppose actually, if you were looking for an overarching theme, it probably is that one of relevance, because it is about understanding what your client needs. And like I said, that's true for us both in inwards and in terms of outwards, what we're looking for. Everyone wants to be heard, right? And there's a lot of good stories to tell currently. So as long as we all collectively keep sight of the risk that we're here to take on, and we think about that risk in terms of the prospective risk for the new year, results have been good, but we have to put ourselves in a position to be able to take on the new year's risk. You as long as you're set up in that way, then you're actually looking forward into a position where yes, there's plenty to be positive about going into 2026.
Brilliant. No, that sounds like a lovely note to end on, but I'll just ask anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up. But otherwise, Martin, it's been brilliant having you on the show. Any final thoughts?
In terms of any final thoughts, I guess just for posterity at this point, I suppose I should say that given where we are, there's always a certain amount of quantum uncertainty in the market, right? And clearly, as much as there's been activity in the first half of the year with California wildfires, and at this point, we're here today, it's maybe peak or close to peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, then there's always a certain amount of water to go under the bridge between now and year end.
Absolutely.
So I've been reading some books over the summer. I'm big on that quantum uncertainty principle at the moment, and there's sort of planning and then making sure that we're sort of ready to react. So the whole market, again, not just ourselves, but needs to be sort of ready to react when we go into 2026. But I don't think I've got anything else to add at this point.
Well, hugely exciting and really insightful. So thank you for taking the time to step out of the frenetic and crazy 30-minute back-to-back meetings up in town, and wish you the best as you go through the next couple of days in Monte Carlo.
Great, thanks very much. Great for having me on this wonderful yacht. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Reinsurance Podcast. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review to let us know how we're doing, preferably 5 stars. For more insights and updates, follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website at supercede.com/podcasts. You'll find the links in the show notes.